Welcome back into the Dynasty Nerds YouTube page. I am Garrett Price, and we are back with the Dynasty lunch break here today. And of course, this is the live show that we do every single week on Thursdays. Guys, we are literally one day ahead of the Fantasy Football Expo. So if you've ever even thought about heading there, do it. Do it. Because you're going to get an opportunity to hang out with me, all the other Dynasty Nerds guys, and tons of your other favorite fantasy football analysts. It is a fantastic time. Head down to Canton, Ohio over the weekend. Lots of fun stuff planned for this weekend. So, today on the show, we are going to, of course, be answering questions. Anytime you have questions, we get into it. Aaron, what's up, buddy? Good to have you here. Yes, of course, I'll answer your questions. But today, the focus of the show is we are going to be attempting to predict the 2024 award winners for fantasy. So, this is going to sound mean. I'm not a big IDP guy personally. So, defensive player of the year in the NFL, is cool, but that doesn't have any relevance for fantasy for me. If you play IDP, that would obviously do that. But we're going to be focusing on a lot of fantasy awards, and I have a couple unique ones. I have a couple that are very standard ones that you would talk about, and we'll discuss together. We'll discuss all this. We'll look at who we like, who we don't like, guys that we think are going to break out, all of that fun kind of stuff. Matt, how's it going, buddy? Good to have you here today on the show. So let's go ahead and get into it. Feel free to put any questions in the chat as we get going, and we will talk about it. But let's get into the fantasy awards. So let's start with the first one here. We'll start with a very basic one. Mike said, yo, I'm looking at trading Rome and a 26 first for Breece Hall. What do you think? That's a tough one, but I'm going with Breece Hall. That's right. Breece Hall. I'm going to take him there. Look, I love Rome, but 26 first is far away. And to be able to get that elite running back, we talked about it on the running backs episode that we did, looking at repeating of running back ones. Those top tier running backs that have the draft capital, that have all the pedigree and all that stuff, those guys are so valuable. So, yes, absolutely going with Breece Hall there. Caden's here, conforming with society immediately today. Ooh, what did I do? I don't even know. Josh, how's it going, buddy? Good to have you here. All right, let's get into our first award here. First award, and I want your guys' opinions. This isn't just going to be me. First one here. Rookie breakout. Now, you can define that however you want, but this is going to be different than rookie of the year, because we will get to that one as well. Rookie breakout. So a guy that has a big year that maybe we were somewhat expecting, maybe we weren't expecting at all, but rookie breakout. Who is your guys' pick for rookie breakout this year? Country Time 10, while you guys are thinking about that, answering that, let's get to his question. Sup, man? 10-team Superflex defending champ, congratulations, with Hurts, Watson, Fields, Carr, Stidham, Darnold, and Winston at quarterback. Trade away Fields for a 25 second. If I was going to trade away Fields, which I'm totally fine doing, I would rather wait till the season, because I would be very surprised if Fields does not get an opportunity to start at some point. I think he's absolutely going to get his opportunity to do it. And when he does, his value is going to instantly jump to a first because of how dynamic he is on the field. So for me, I would rather wait till the season and get a start out of him to do that. All right. Let's see. Kevin said, do I trade away Tyjae Spears, a 25 second and third, for Cup and Devin Singletary? Rookie breakout is Malik Washington. Miami could use a slot to go with Waddle and Hill. I like that call, and I loved him as a player. I think that's a good call there. I would I get it on a true contender. I think that's a fair deal. But anything outside of like a legit contender, and I just need these guys as depth pieces. Anything outside of that, I would rather have Spears in the picks. Just Josh says Spencer Rattler goes from the bench afterthought to leading the Saints. I like that. I like that. Caden says, I won't be on the Twitter stream this time and be a time traveler. Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why it was working out that way. That was rather odd for sure. Let's see. Making sure I write these down. All right. Matt says Ricky Pearsall. Ayuk gets traded and Ricky Pearsall gets highlighted early and often. I like that one. Aaron says Corley. I think he comes on strong behind Wilson. I could see that. Pork Chop saying Ben Sinnott or Sinnott, depending on how you like to pronounce it. Berserk said traded Eckler for Lloyd as a contender. Right choice. I feel like I made a mistake here. I don't think Eckler is going to help you much on a contender here, so you might as well build up for the future. I have no problem with that. Fantasy football roll. What's up? How's it going, man? Oh, a little toilet paper there. I see you. Also could be Tyrone Tracy, obviously. That was my pick. Here. I was going with Tyrone Tracy as the rookie breakout this year. Faith, family, fantasy football. Who are some third wide receiver and backup tight ends to possibly be valuable this year? Now, do you mean backup tight ends for fantasy or backup like NFL tight ends? Because I think those are very different evaluations. And same thing with third wide receivers, like third receiver on their team or wide receiver threes for fantasy. Powerfold said, speaking of, price check on Ricky Pearsall, please. Yeah, he's a tricky one. He was somebody that I did get a good amount of. I got a lot of him and Xavier Legette in the mid-second. Thought he was a really valuable piece. To be able to get a first-round receiver in that offense that late is pretty crazy. So for me, now, if I had to try to acquire him now, he's probably going to be more expensive. I would be open to giving like 2 seconds, like my 25 and 26 second. I'd be willing to do that for him. Faith Family saying NFL wise, so backup tight ends. I think Isaiah Likely is obviously the one that would be the first one to come to mind as far as somebody that could be a backup that has some real value to him. Outside of that, there's not a lot of other backup tight ends. Ben Sinnott could be another one that's technically a backup behind Zach Ertz. That's really maybe Jonnu Smith if you're considering him a backup. I think he's listed second on the depth chart. As far as wide receiver threes, I'm looking at a lot of these rookies right now that are wide receiver threes, the Jermaine Burtons, the Roman Wilsons. I'm also even looking at, potentially Calvin Austin. Now, he gets completely nuked if Brandon Ayuk goes there, but yeah, those would be some guys that I'm looking at. Mr. Bakes a lot. What's up? Let's get into, got a couple other guys to talk with here, but let's get into our second category here. The LVP, the least valuable player. Now, here's how I'm defining this. This is a player that you drafted with fairly good draft capital, or he was on your team and expected to do very well this season, but completely bombed. Now, let's do our best to avoid injuries, because anybody could get injured at any time, but somebody that's just going to absolutely blow up in our face, a la like a Miles Sanders last year would be a good one that just kind of totally blew up in our face. Gavin Ferguson got some trades. Gabe Hurts got Kyler in a 25 second and a 26 second. I think that's fair. I think that's fair value. If you would have been able to get a first, I think you would have won that trade. Any less, it's not worth moving him. So I think that's a fair move overall. gave Pickens, got in mid to early first and a third. I'm going to take the first and third. I know people are high on Pickens. I get it. But if Brandon Ayuk does end up there, which it keeps looking more likely, then all of a sudden he doesn't have nearly the value. And I love the running backs and some of the top tier receivers. Like right now, if you had me choose between Luther Burden, Tet McMillan, and George Pickens, Pickens would probably be third on that list. Let's see. Drop the Mic says, "What's up on the road to Canton?" Yeah, we'll see you there, buddy. Then would you drop Eli Mitchell for so the guy from, I can never pronounce it, but the guy from Cincinnati. I have Jordan Mason as well. The fact that Superflex San Francisco has signed Keyshawn Vaughn and Breda so quickly is interesting. I like having backup running backs more than I like backup receivers, just because I don't know when to start those guys. So I would rather hold on to the backup running backs. Bijan. I'm guessing you're saying he's the LVP this year. That would be a frustrating one for sure for a lot of people. So if you didn't hear, LVP, who is your LVP this season? A guy that is expected to play well, but just totally bombs for your fantasy team. So get your answers in here for a second. I will give you mine momentarily. Caden, what's the value of Raheem Mostert? I have in my 12-team 2-quarterback league as a contender, but looking to go young after getting Brooks, Lloyd, and Braylon Allen and Tyrone Tracy in the rookie draft. You're probably not going to get much for him, unfortunately, Caden. Most people are not willing to trade for a guy that old. You might be able to get a second. That's probably the best you're going to get. And you might want to wait till in season after he's had a game or two. Some running backs go down. That would probably be your best bet. Pork Chop saying, looking to contend, would you move Herbert with all the injury news and lack of wide receivers? Also, move Hawk for a different tight end. My backup is Ferguson. I would love, people are super down on Mark Andrews. I would love to get my hands on Mark Andrews. We're actually going to be talking about him on the Nerd Herd show this week a little bit. So he's a guy that I would absolutely look at. But Ferguson is obviously a capable starter, but as a contender, you don't want somebody a little bit more. Let's see. Charles, 12-team Superflex 7 premium. Give London and Laporta a 25 first and second for JJ, Bowers, and a fourth. My team is bottom of the league. So on the surface, I like that deal. The problem is I never want to give my first if I'm a bottom tier team. So I need to figure out a way to keep my first round pick, because there's nothing worse than coming in last or 11th or anything like that and then not being able to capitalize on that. So maybe it's the kind of thing where you remove a piece, he removes a piece, and you figure out how to make that work. But I do not want to give up my first. C. Kirk saying Garrett Wilson for LVP. Caden saying AJ Brown will be the LVP because Devonta Smith will explode. Just Josh, not a surprise. Saying Aaron Rodgers. I bought him everywhere, but consistently he's let me down. Yeah, I mean, all of those guys, I could see a path for that. I really hope it's not Garrett Wilson. I'm very high on him this year overall, but I could see that as a possibility for him being the LVP. For me, I'm going to go with Rachaad White. If you've been listening to me, you're not surprised by that, but a guy that everybody is high on at running back. I think he's just way too inefficient, and I don't think he's going to have a good year this year. So for me, it's Rachaad White. All right. Mr. Bakes a lot. Malik Neighbors is his LVP. All right, let's get to our next one. Let's get to our next one here. The Kyren Williams Award. So a player that was written off as completely dead and breaks out to have a big season. So who's your candidate for the Kyren Williams Award? Let's see. Brandon saying, what do you make of Dobbs' performance in camp? I know it's a deep wide receiver room and everyone is high on everyone else, but I can't help but think Dobbs will go off. I think it's going to be a hard one to pick week to week on who's going to do well, because I think there's plenty of players that are more or less like they're just talented. There's a lot of talented receivers. They're all young, but none of them have shown to be that elite like takeover guy. If there's going to be one guy that would do it, it looks like it could be Jaden Reed. But I would say I like him, but I'm not counting on him as anything more like even a wide receiver 3, I think is a little steep. So anything more than like a flex play. All right. So here we go for the Kyron Williams Award. Jordan Mason, Tyrone Tracy, Mooney, Zeke, Jahan Dotson, Austin Eckler, Uncle Rico. I like that. Rico Dottle. Mooney, and then Christian Watson. So, Aaron, we had the same thought here. I am high. I shouldn't say I'm like crazy high, but I'm high on what Jaden Daniels can do for this offense. And so, do I know for sure whether it's going to be Terry McLaurin or Jahan Dotson? No, but I want both of those guys because I think one of those guys has a huge year this year. So I will go with Jahan Dotson as well. So great call on that. Bearded Jebediah, thoughts on Bryce Young improving? I think he will be better this year. How much better is a big question, though. But I think there's nowhere to go but up from him. When you look at that offense, they did a lot with the offensive line. They did a lot for the receiving core. So I think he is going to improve. But I don't know if it's going to be enough for him to jump into the conversation that we are excited about him for fantasy football purposes. Javonte Gavin, that's another great one, another player that I had considered for this award. But I ended up going with kind of cheating a little bit because I just kind of took the receivers in Washington. But either one, I'm good with either one you want to pick. Jonathan says, I traded Rashad, so I guess he would be my LVP. I love it. The Kyron Williams Award, Ty Chandler, another good one there. Scary Terry for the win with my guy, Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin, one of the most underrated running backs in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. Never gets credit for how good he was consistently year in and year out. Pork Chop saying, is it worth trading Tua for Daniels Plus if it's available? Yes, I think it is. I would make that move. You're taking on risk. So this is assuming that Tua was not your QB1. If he was your QB1, then maybe I wouldn't. But as a QB2, I'm willing to take that gamble, especially if I can get a plus. But I think even straight up, it's pretty even. It's not far off. All right. Any more Kyron Williams Award until so let me know if you got any more of those, and then we will get to our next award here. But any more Kyron Williams awards? All right, let's go to the next one here. We're gonna go through the positions, and so let's go with let's start with the quarterback position. So quarterback that scores the most points this season. And you know what? While you're at it, give me the running back, wide receiver, and tight end. Guy at each position that scores the most points this season. I want to see if we have anybody that has the same 4-4-4. I'll let you know mine in a second here. All right. Joshua says, Tyreek. Do I have a speech impediment? Didn't even know. Tyreek Hill, trade value. I know you talked about him in the East coverage. Would you do Odunze, a 25 and 26 first for him? The cliff is coming soon. Get the value now. I would absolutely do it. Honestly, if it's a decent 25 pick, like I think Odunze in the first alone would be enough to make that move for me. So I would definitely be in on moving Tyreek Hill. I know it's tough, but assuming you are not like I'm all in to win this year, I would absolutely do that. You get 2 firsts and Odunze, so basically 3 firsts for a guy that is approaching age 30 here. I think that's really, really good value. So I would be all in on that. Jonathan saying getting offered ETN, Adonai Mitchell, a first, or actually 2 firsts for Gibbs, Deshaun, and something else. I feel like I can do a little bit better. 1 QB PPR. So you're getting offered ETN, Adonai Mitchell. Where are the first at? Because Deshaun Watson doesn't do much for me. So it's basically Gibbs. And you're getting ETN, 2 firsts, and Adonai Mitchell. I think that's a pretty fair deal, unless those firsts are like projected to be 12. You know, if they're anywhere mid, like I think that would be a deal I'd be willing to take in a 1 QB. Aaron's saying he's going with Josh Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Bijan Robinson, and Dalton Kincaid. I like that group. It's a good group. Probably mid. Yeah. If they're mid, I think I would be willing to take that deal. I was wondering who the first one to say Anthony Richardson would be, and it's my guy Joshua here. He's going Anthony Richardson, Tyreek Hill, CMC, and Dalton Kincaid. We've got some Kincaid love here. I like it. Jordan says, I traded the 202 this year for Will Levis and 309 in a super flex league. I think that's overall a fair deal. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily the biggest Will Levis guy. I'm a little worried about him, but to get a quarterback for a second round pick, I think that's worth it. I'm personally a little bit higher on like the 202 because I would have liked to have gotten like Trey Benson or somebody like that there, but I think it's a fair deal. Aloha saying Mahomes, CD, Brees, Kincaid. So many Kincaid calls. Literally everyone going with Kincaid this year. And I can't disagree. That was who I was leaning towards as well. Brandon saying Mahomes, Brees, Lamb, Kincaid. Curtis saying Richardson, CD, Brees, and Kincaid. And then we have Ryan with Mahomes, Bijan, Chase, Kincaid. Jonathan saying Hurts, CD, Brees, Andrews. So we have the first non-Kincaid answer. I was leaning toward Kincaid, but my other option was, I think I'm going back to the well with Travis Kelce. So I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I'm going with the stack. I'm going with the stack there. At wide receiver, I'm going to be going with Jamar Chase. I think he has a big year this year. And going out of left field a little bit at the running back position. Going Jonathan Taylor. Gets his second RB1 season. All right. Jonathan saying Hurts, CD, Brees, Andrews. James saying Dak. Ooh, I like it. Dak, Hill, Hall, and Ingram. Ingram finished as tight end 2 last year. So pretty interesting there. All right. Top each pose. All right. Let's go with the next award. This is another one that I made up on my own. It's not a common award, but we're going to go with the Devon Achane Award. So here's what the Devon Achane Award is. It's a player that in his games that he plays, he eats, but we're very worried about him missing a lot of time. All right. Now, you can pick Devon Achane for his own award if you would like. But obviously, the award was named after him after what he did last year. So the Devon Achane Award. Let's see. Jordan saying, speaking of Kincaid, I traded him for Derrick Henry and 303. I already own McBride, and my RB2 was Zamir White going for the ship. I respect it, Jordan, because I'm never going to be against going all in. But I think you could have got a little bit more for Dalton Kincaid there. Tesh saying, hey guys, what's going on? And hey, we're just having a good time predicting these awards here. So the award we're doing right now is the Devon A-Chan Award. So basically the guy that eats on a points per game basis, but we're really worried about missing some time this year. All right. Faith Family Fantasy Football saying Derrick Henry. Aloha saying CMC is someone that I'm worried about, but will smash in the games he played. I keep forgetting that I can like put these up here. So like as I'm reading it, like I should do this more. This is a cool little feature here. There you go. Powerfold saying, hope it's not Anthony Richardson again. I get it. I worry about that too, though. I worry about that too. Brandon saying, not a big fan of him, but Christian Watson fits the award. Absolutely. Tash saying, I think Mark Andrews with the award. Aaron saying, Anthony Richardson. James Conner, points per game beast. That's a really good one. It's a really good one. Let's see. What do I think of Zach Moss for Christian Watson or Jameson Williams straight up? I think if you are a team that is set at receiver, but you could use that like that player to just give you that crazy upside, like this guy would be your wide receiver 4 or 5. Then I'm probably willing to take the Christian Watson side. I'm not as big on Jameson Williams. But yeah, I think that would be, I think I would take the Christian Watson side. Jordan saying, I tried to get a second, but Henry owner wasn't budging and the Knox news kind of worried me. So I pulled the trigger. Doesn't help that I have $100 side bet to at least get 4th place. That's huge. Hey, you make sure you get top 4. You do anything you can to get top 4. I respect that. Aloha said, I almost said Watson too. Ryan saying Tyreek Hill. So he's going with the teammate Tyreek Hill for the A-Chan Award. Richardson's a huge one, and I am a Colts fan. Curtis Martin saying Keenan Allen, Cooper Kupp, and Tank Dell. So it's funny you said Cooper Kupp because I am actually going to go with his teammate Puka Nacua for this award. I think he's going to do well in his games that he plays, but we see he's already banged up, and he's only had a few games over, even in college where he played over 10 games. So he's a guy that seems to be banged up quite a bit. Obviously stayed pretty healthy last year, but I do worry about that a little bit with this guy. So I am going to go with Puka Nacua there. All right, let me take a drink. I was supposed to be drinking this for lunch, and I didn't get it done in time, and I just realized it's still sitting here. So hold on. Just a quick pause. We'll finish that as we go. Tesh saying, question, do you think I overpaid? Traded JT, so Jonathan Taylor, a 25 first, 26 first, Xavier Legette for Marvin Harrison and Isaiah Pacheco. I have Bijan at running back and was weak at wide receiver. Depends where those picks are. I think I don't hate the deal, honestly, because I think Isaiah Pacheco is going to give you 80 to 85% of Jonathan Taylor. So I have no issue with that. And then 2 firsts and Xavier Legette for Marvin Harrison. I think that's, obviously it's not just that because Pacheco for JT straight up. So it'd basically be JT. Man, how would I break that down? JT a first and Legette for Harrison probably, and which is about right. So yeah, I have no problem with that deal. I think that's a fair deal overall, as long as those firsts aren't early. If they're early, then I don't like that. I have Hurts, London, Andrews as my other core players, so I think I'm contending. So yeah, if those are your picks and you're contending, you should be in pretty good shape. So let's get the rest. If anybody else has a Devon A-Chan award, go ahead and put it in the chat now. The Devon A-Chan award before we get to our next award here. Ooh, Berserk saying, have you touched base on Deontay Johnson? If not, can you? It's funny. He's another one that we actually have planned to talk about in the Nerd Herd episode today. Well, it'll come out for you guys tomorrow. But yeah, I'm in on Deontay Johnson. I think that they were calling him an X receiver. They are going to funnel him targets. Thielen is well past his prime. And as much as I do like Xavier Legette as an upside play, he's raw. He's got some time. So I think Deontay Johnson's going to have a really, really good year. You have Deontay and Godwin. So yeah, both guys that could have pretty big comebacks this season. So I think that's absolutely on the table here. All right, next award here. The next award is going to be the player that is, I want to make sure I say this correctly because I haven't named this award. So I want to make sure I say it correctly. A player that is okay, here's what we're going to call it. I got it now. The boring award. The player that is expected to be solid but not elite, that is going to put up numbers that are solid but not elite. Like your prototypical wide receiver 2, you can just count on them, or quarterback 10 that you just feel really good about, like that type of player. So the boring award. Who do you have for the boring award for 2024? All right. Matt B says, sell Thielen after week 2. He's still a top 20 receiver. He will fall quickly. Matt also going with Kirk. I'm assuming Kirk Cousins for the boring award this year. Curtis Martin saying Rashad White for the boring award. Jordan Devonta Smith for the boring award. That was somebody I considered with my pick. Aloha saying Zamir White. C. Kirk saying Dalton Schultz for the boring award. Christian Kirk. Okay. Yep, that's also another good one. Always Mike Evans. Yep. He is kind of, you could almost name it the Mike Evans, although he snuck into wide receiver 1 a few too many times for it. But that's a very, very fair one to say as well. For me, it's a guy that we have mentioned, or I've seen mentioned anyway, earlier on. I don't remember if it was for an award or if it was for a trade conversation. That I don't remember. But for me, it's Isaiah Pacheco. I don't think he's going to get enough receiving work to really be like a legit running back 1. But I think he's super safe season long, where he's going to end up in that running back 13 to 18 range. And he's just going to be a really solid asset. Ryan saying Christian Kirk as well. I think that's a fair one. I think that's a fair one for sure. Michael Pittman. Oh, that's a good one. Michael Pittman. Yeah, he seems to always fall in that range. The other guy that kind of came to mind for me was DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is probably going to be pretty boring for fantasy football. Brandon Sand was actually debating Pacheco and Kirk too. Yeah, so a lot of solid thoughts here. People thinking pretty similar. C. Kirk saying JSN or a 27 first and Pop Douglas. 27 first, likely to be early as the guy has a team of lot of older pieces. I'm still going to go JSN. It's just so far away. 3 years, so much can change. And I know you're thinking that change would be for the better. But if he holds on, that could be really frustrating that you waited 3 years to get a late first. So I think if it was 26, I'd probably do it. But 27 is just too far away for me at this point. All right. Terry McLaurin or Mike Evans. Yep. Ray, right on the spot there. All right, here we go. Here's a more traditional award. Give me your rookie of the year, the most valuable rookie player this coming season. I think there's only a few legitimate options. Like I could see 3 or 4 guys. Outside of that, I would be surprised to see too many other names outside of like 3 or 4. I mean, we could always be surprised. Always be surprised. But I'm guessing all the answers are either going to be Harrison, Neighbors, Caleb Williams, or Jaden Daniels. I would be surprised to see much other than that. So far, we've got Neighbors. He was going to go Lad, but went Neighbors, and Marvin Harrison Jr. So, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Guessing it's going to be mostly those 4. Jordan saying, should I send a 25 late third for Sam Howell, or is he a roster clogger? I'm always willing to give a third for a player that would be like a Sam Howell. Like if he steals that job and there's enough receiving options, this is a team that's going to throw the ball more now. All of a sudden, that's a huge come up. If you lose a late third, you lose a late third. Like, who cares? It's a late third. So I would say, yeah, send a late third. And if he hits, like, you more than got your money back. More than got your, like, tripled, quadrupled your money, because now all of a sudden, you know, he's a player that is fetching a early second, late first. But if not, like, you lost the late third. So, yeah, absolutely. Matt agrees. He's saying Hal is a taxi dude, so why not? Gino always gets stinged up, and he said he's going to be running more this season. Interesting. We'll see. I missed that little blurb there, but that's a good insight. All right. Jay Dunn saying I have Pickens and Roman Wilson plus Ayuk. Been trying to move Pickens, but not getting much traction. What type of return should I be looking for if I want a receiver back? 12 team, start 11, super flex, 1.5 tight end premium. Pickens is a tough one to move right now because there is a lot of apprehension for this guy. I would be saying I probably want a late first. I want a late first for him or the equivalent value. If I'm not getting that, I'd rather just hold on and see what happens. Because as much as we think a trade's going to go down, you just never really know how things are going to shake out. So, and there's nothing saying that he still couldn't potentially be the top guy. I think it would be Ayuk, but there's nothing saying he couldn't be. So I would lean toward a late first that I would want. Curtis Martin fan for life. Dark horse candidates: Ladd, Jaden Daniels, Xavier Worthy, barring crazy injuries with Mostert and Achane, Jalen Wright. Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Any other rookie of the year thoughts? I had Marvin Harrison Jr. for my rookie of the year, so nothing overly exciting there. Matt's agreeing with Jay Dunn. Yeah, I was trying to bundle Pickens and Tank Dell for an upgraded receiver, but nobody's biting on a fair deal, so I am holding. Totally understand that. All right. Here's another one that's a little outside the box, but I think it's a fun one. Madden Cover Award. The guy that has the year that's so good that it gets him the Madden cover next season. All right, so the Madden Cover Award. And Ryan saying Neighbors because of the market. So yeah, totally get that. All right, the Madden Cover Award. A guy that has such a big year that he gets the cover of Madden next season. We've got Tyreek. We've got Kyler. I'll give you mine in a second here. Madden cover, CJ Stroud. Could totally see that. That was one that I kind of had in my mind. Ryan, we're on the same wavelength. I had Anthony Richardson for my Madden award cover here. Brandon saying, following your Wednesday episode, what would you offer for Wright or Achane? For Achane, I'm willing to give 2 firsts, and I don't know that I can give much more, but I'd be willing to give 2 firsts. I'd be willing to give 2 seconds for Jalen Wright. So 2 firsts for Achane, 2 seconds for Jalen Wright. All right. Madden Award. The guy has such a big season that he wins the Madden cover for next year. And then we'll get to our final one. A Rich or CD, absolutely. Both guys I could totally see there. All right, final question. This is the final one of the show as we wrap things up here on the Dynasty lunch break. Of course, we need to know fantasy MVP for 2024. So I'm leaving this open-ended. If you just want to say the guy that has the most points or the guy that outplays his ADP by so much, or however you want to look at it, but fantasy MVP for 2024. All right. Crunchy Fries saying, what's your advice for IU holders right now? And any thoughts on Will Levis? For IU holders right now, you're going to do just that. You got to just hold. You're not going to get good value for him at the moment because most people are going to assume it's a downgrade wherever he goes, especially assuming Pittsburgh. It's not going to be as good of a situation as it was in San Francisco. So I think you just hold and kind of weather the storm. Another question, Saquon for a late first and a late third. If you are a contender, I think that it's a great move to make. I would absolutely make that move there. So late first and third for Saquon, I would do that for sure. CD is nice. Stroud too. All right, for the fantasy MVP, we're looking at Tyreek Hill from my guy Matt. Curtis Martin saying CeeDee Lamb. Bijan needs some of that ATL love. Chris Olave for fantasy MVP. That was not one I was expecting. CMC for MVP. Jamison Williams, because he will outplay his ADP. He's going to have to outplay it by quite a bit. But, I mean, if the guy puts up 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns, like, that's fantasy MVP worthy, even though it would only put him, like, wide receiver 13 or wide receiver 12. Yeah, I think that would be impressive. That would be impressive. Give me Bijan or CD in 1 QB, Mahomes in Superflex, Mahomes with the revamped wide receiver room. All right, I'm going to go risky, guys. I'm going to go risky. I've talked about this player quite a bit. Talked about my affinity for him. I'm going Devon Achane for fantasy MVP. The numbers that guy was putting up in a short spurt last year was wild. If we can even just get 14 to 15 games out of him, we could be seeing some truly epic numbers. I think this offense is going to be just as good as ever. So I am going with Devon Achane for the dark horse. Obviously, I know that's not the favorite, but that's the guy I'm going to pick. I'm going to go out on a limb and go with Devon Achane. So guys, as always, Dynasty Lunch Break. I have a great time hanging out with you guys. Fun, different topics, trying to engage with you guys, talk, answer questions, all that kind of stuff. Genuinely appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I will catch you guys again next Thursday.